Torban,
Yes.
hello.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. Thank you
Good.
very much for being my first ever podcast guest.
Right, it's an absolute pleasure and an honour. Lucky me.
Yeah, I
Lucky
know.
you.
And yeah, lucky me. Lucky me. Oh, it's got the big drink on the go.
I have got a big drink on the go. Yeah,
What was that? It looked quite dark.
it's a Guinness in a
Ooh,
World Cup shaped glass that I got for Christmas.
love
That
it.
Sophie loves.
I bet she does.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I've
It's
got
a
a bit
classy piece.
I've got a bit of red wine on the go. So
Oh, that's much more cultured. Well done.
yeah, bonjour.
Cheers. Cheers.
But we're not here to talk about drinking on a school night, are we?
No, we're not.
I mean, what we are here to talk about is Sunday League football. But I mean, to be honest, when I was thinking about, I wanted to get you on, and when I was thinking about what to get you on for, it could have been a number of things, because you are probably the biggest, but include as well as myself, you're probably the biggest sports lover I know, I would say.
Yeah, I love sport.
You love sport and you go to pretty much anything, and I've been to a lot of things with you. And I mean, the reason for me starting this podcast was because of my love for sport, and it was me trying to do something that I love. And my first episode of the podcast, which you won't have heard yet, is just all about me and why I love sport. So I was interested, before we get started on Sunday League, to know what made you fall in love with sport, really, and what was kind of your what was your first memories of kind of being really taken by sport? Because mine was, funnily enough, the Barcelona Olympics in '92, because I've kind of got vague memories of Italia '90.
Yeah.
I remember it happening, and I remember watching it and stuff, but I don't remember being emotionally connected to it because I think I was too young.
Yeah.
But I remember being so excited about the Olympics in '92, and remember all the athletes and everything like that.
Linford Christie,
Roger Black,
Carl Lewis still on the scene. Maybe not by then. That's he's 88. Yes.
Yeah,
oh,
the big
man.
Name. But yeah, so I was interested to know, because I know you love like all sport. You'll literally watch anything the same as I would, and I just wondered what it was that kind of first got you in, and why you're a sport lover.
Yeah, I know when you ask that question, your mind my mind got thrown back to my earliest memories and earliest years, and I guess it comes from family influence really. So it kind of what my dad and what my brother were into, it naturally kind of interests you, I suppose, because it's on TV, because they're talking about it, because they're doing it. And so for me, the two things that kind of pop out in my mind when you asked that question was football and watching the FA Cup final, mid 80s. I think it's probably 86. So I would have been about 6 years old. Everton, Liverpool.
Wow.
So Everton. So I became an Everton fan off the back of that game, and
that was why that cup final.
Yeah, they were the underdogs. I think they lost 3-1 from memory. I should really know this off by heart, but they were the underdogs.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I could quickly Google it, but anyway, whatever. It doesn't really matter. That was kind of my first sort of memory of getting emotional about football, I suppose, like you said a second ago, getting into it and watching it, and I guess sort of being influenced by probably my dad and my brother watching the match and how they reacted to things, and I was probably watching that and
why wasn't it Liverpool?
Well, Liverpool were the favourites, and so I think my dad.
That's why most people supported Liverpool, because of cup finals like that.
Yeah, they're going to win, so that's a good start, and I think that's where my problems with supporting Everton probably started, because they were the underdog on that day and have been probably most of the time since. But but that, yeah, so it's that idea of the the challenger, if you like, the team that weren't supposed to win, and hopefully they would, and that kind of, I don't know, the romance and the drama, and could they do it? And they didn't, but it was, I remember being excited. And then the other memory that I've got, my dad was quite into horse racing and owned a few horses back in the day. None particularly successful. Well, I think he had a few winners. Anyway, I remember every Grand National day and the whole day about being that. We'd get out the paper and look at the names and the colours of the horses, and then watch the race. I think my dad would put on a 50p bet for me, and just the excitement of all of that, and the drama and the kind of, I don't know, the music, the I can't remember what it's called now, but on the BBC, I think it's called The Champions or something like that. A real emotive piece of music, and just, I guess, it's all about the drama and the excitement and the history and all of that, and just a sense of so many people kind of being into the same thing at the same time, I suppose. In the house.
I think that the family thing was a big thing for me, because it was kind of the first times of connecting with, like, having kind of really something in common with your dad and your brother, and having something to talk about all the time. Whereas when you're a child, you kind of, the conversation, you don't really have conversations on a level with your parents, do you? They're kind of really your parents, and you're a child, and then all of a sudden you've got something that you've got in common that you can talk about, and that was massive for me, I think, when I was a child, of why I was sort of getting into it, for my kind of brother and my dad, that all of a sudden we were on the same level there.
Yeah, that's actually thinking about it there, where you're saying that's so true. That sort of bonding and that shared experience, and you even to this day, when you meet, I don't want to be sexist, right? You meet a guy, and if you're into sport, you might steer the conversation down the sport route. You might ask, what team are you into? You into football, into rugby, whatever it is, and you've just got that instant connection. Often, if a person's into sport, if they're not, then you'll find something else. But if they are into sport and you're into sport, then there's that instant. You could sit at a bar and talk for hours on end, and just and enjoy that conversation. So,
exactly. But anyway, we're here really to talk about Sunday League football. And I played Sunday League football with you back in the day.
We had a few good matches.
I mean, 15, 20 years ago now. It was, and I mean, I probably started playing at Sunday League. I didn't really play when I was a teenager, but I played in my early to kind of late 20s into my 30s, and I loved it when we did it, and it was all about being part of a gang, really, for me. It's like you get to know a team, and you get in there, and you're looking forward to it kind of every Sunday of climbing up the league, and really feeling like you're part of something, because in your head you could be playing in the Premier League. It doesn't matter. You've got the league to look at, and you've got your team, and you're trying to win a match, and being able to kind of be part of that team every Sunday was kind of, it can feel quite special. But my kind of Sunday League career was short-lived, because I had so many injuries.
Very unlucky.
that you know of. So, but
and injuries not even on a football pitch as well.
No, most of them off it. But the worst one was on the football pitch, when I tore my ACL, and that was really the one that I never properly recovered from.
I'd probably disagree with you there. I don't know, you know your body better than I would, but it wasn't there a kind of a sheet ice moment outside of a McDonald's that was a particularly
I mean, that sounds like a worse injury, because I broke and dislocated my ankle whilst running to a cash machine in a pitch black car park in the ice in Liverpool, to try and get to a McDonald's before it closed. And
You've all been there.
we've all been there. It was after I've been to the League Cup semi-final at Anfield, and we were on our way back, and slipped on some ice on a curb, and dislocated my ankles, and my foot was completely turned the wrong way, and like could have lost my foot. But I actually, once that had recovered, I never really had repercussions from that injury.
I remember you had a plate put in.
Yeah,
I remember when it was cold, it used to feel it.
Yeah. I can still feel it. It's still in there, but that never gave me problems. I don't get problems from that ankle. That was fine. I think I was young enough then that it healed up nicely. But yeah, the ACL, that like I never properly got back to where I was after that. But
yeah,
so my Sunday league career was short, but yours, and one of the main, if not the main reason I've got you on to talk about this, is you've played Sunday league football longer than anyone I've ever met. So how old were you when you started?
16.
16, and what you're 16. You're now nearly 50. So
well, steady. I'm 43, but yeah, I'm edging that way.
Okay.
And I still absolutely love it.
You love it, yeah.
I love it so much. Still, for all so it's kind of evolves over the years, but 16 years old when I started for the mighty WSM Celtic in the Thames Valley Sunday Football League Division 5.
Yeah.
And it was it was a great start to my Sunday league career playing for that team.
Why did you start? What made you start at 16 playing Sunday league? Because I think a lot of people were still playing schoolboys at that age.
Yeah, I'd had a couple of years. I played for a team up until when I was about 14 or 15. It was really successful. It was a good, very good team, and I wasn't quite good enough to play as regularly as I'd like. I'd come off the bench and maybe score the odd one or two, and I was definitely a part of the squad, but I wasn't featuring week in, week out. And then as 14, 15, started to get a little bit more distracted with, I don't know, parties and, other things as a teenager. And so you just kind of playing at the weekend, playing football just became sort of lower down the priority. And I wasn't featuring as much as I'd like. So the interest has kind of like waned a little bit. I still played football, still could play, still mucked around with my mates stuff. But then it was my brother actually who played for WSM Celtic, and they were after some extra players, and he invited me down. So I was like, yeah, actually I quite fancy that. And so started playing with them and loved it. Yeah. And
what was it that made you kind of keep coming back for all these years?
Well, I think there's lots of different reasons. You mentioned it to begin with, that sort of brotherhood, that camaraderie, that sense of sort of belonging to a team, to a gang, that kind of that where you're instantly from the first minute, whatever kind of initiation, whether it's just a bunch of lads tapping you on the back and saying, oh, good luck today, or whether it's some kind of other crazy thing that they make you do, but that instantly you're just you're part of that team. And at that age you're 16 and you're coming up against guys in their 30s and 40s, and you've got a bit more energy and pace and things like that. You can make a bit of a difference. And so I went from a team where I was one of the peripheral players to a team where I could actually sort of I'll start every game if I turned up, and potentially make a bit of a difference. So it was great. So and then you start getting results on the pitch, and pats on the back, and
there is a level for everyone in Sunday League, isn't there? Because you said Thames Valley League Division 5, like you think there's so many different levels to enter at. There's like everyone can find their entry point to be playing at the level they want. They can enjoy it, really. I think
100%.
That's the beauty of it.
All abilities, all positions, all ages. I'm still playing at 43, and there's 16-year-olds I coming up against that run rings around me nowadays, and yeah, and you get real sort of mixture of abilities as well, which is great. You know, you'll play alongside some of the greatest players you've ever played. You know, whatever
Ringers.
whatever standard you are, there'll be some exceptional players that you play alongside. Maybe not for many games, because they'll probably just be moonlighting, having you know, come down from their semi-pro team whilst they're recovering from an injury or something like that. But yeah, right through to players who can barely kick a ball, but they turned up because you've only got 9 men, and then they make the 10th man, and you're still a man short, but they will try their hardest, give it a go, and yeah, and sometimes be effective and sometimes not. But they're usually a mate of a mate who's been dragged out of bed early on a Sunday morning with a hangover, doing their best. So yeah, yeah, you like to say, lots of abilities.
When I was playing, I always, for any team really, not just Sunday League, I always felt like if I was part of a team, I needed to be fully committed, need to be there every week, and that's kind of a huge thing of it, because you'd often be like, you see the manager scrapping around for players and going, oh, so and so's can't make it this week, this, that, and the other, and that's the hardest thing. And I know you're kind of the same thinking, that you need, if you're part of a team, you need to be part of a team. So what, 37 years you've been part of a team, like how have you kept that commitment up to the team for so long, especially like now having a family, kids, and still being committed to that team? I don't know how you kind of how you keep it going, really.
Yeah, it gets harder, especially when you have kids and other commitments, work and things like that. It's yeah, it's not easy. And even as even when you're younger and you've got, you know, no commitments and no one to sort of answer to in your 20s or whatever, yeah, there'll be other things. You'll be away, I don't know, visiting friends from uni or whatever it is, and so you won't. I mean, well, you and I have, yeah, the commitment that different people have different levels of commitment. Some will be there week in, week out, regardless. Some will be there occasionally and be a bit more flaky. I always tried to make the effort if I could, if it's physically possible. And I would, you know, drive back from a night out in Bournemouth early on a morning, 2-hour drive to get back for Sunday League in Berkshire. So yeah, I have always been committed, because I just love it. I prioritize it, I suppose. I love it that much. It gets more difficult, obviously, with a family, young family, and then other commitments. You know, for example, you know, it's Mother's Day this weekend, and so, you know, I said to the guys, look, I can't do it. I've got commitments that I've got to prioritize them.
Yeah.
But
and you still have your place in the team when you come back, because that was often like, if you don't turn up one week, you're on the bench the next.
Yeah, that's yeah, exactly. And especially, you know, especially in a more competitive team where there's more better players. And that's, you know, now getting older, you know, I'm certainly not guaranteed the place that I might have been 20 years ago. But yeah, I guess once you've played with the team, you know, with your team for long enough and shown your ability and shown your commitment, and I think you're allowed a few weeks off for other reasons, and then, you know, be able to get your place back in the team without having to prove yourself again. So yeah, I think over the years you kind of build up those points, if you like, those loyalty points.
Yeah. That so Bournemouth to Berkshire, is that the furthest you've ever travelled to make a game?
God, that's a good question.
Was it worth it?
Well, there's one where I was still playing. So I started with WSM Celtic when I was 16, and then carried on playing with them through university. I think first year or two, I was back for fewer games, but then later on, I basically spent a season when I was driving back from Bournemouth on a Sunday morning, playing for the team. And then I'd have Sunday lunch with mum or with dad, and then drive back in the afternoon. So yeah, I was
What's
really
that, about an hour and a half drive, is that?
yeah, hour and a half, hour 45, 2 hours if there's traffic. So yeah, it was that was particularly, yeah, that I did that for a long time. But there was one particular time where it was middle of the winter. I got up early, and being a student as well, the petrol money and all that, it adds up. You driving 4 hours. Anyway, I was, big commitment. Got up early, drove out there, and it was raining all the way. It was horrible, horrible. But I carried on. So that's right, I'll get through this. Got to the pitch, and the game was called off. So I basically got back in the car, and that day I hadn't planned to have lunch, and drove all the way back without having kicked the ball. Oh, it was an absolute disaster. So yeah, so there's those ones as well. Or I mean, like Sunday League, and this is when you're playing on dodgy pitches and you've got issues, and like several times over those 27 years I've been playing Sunday League, there's been instances where games have been called off because there's no nets, especially at the beginning of the season. The council don't always those council pitches don't always sort of, they forget about football, and they just don't have the people ready to go. So you turn up at the pitch expecting a match, and then there's no nets, or there's no goals, or there's no ref, or there's no corner flags, no kits. There's always
something missing.
Yeah, and that's the thing at that kind of amateur level, where just silly amateur things happen.
Well, that is kind of part of the charm of it, isn't it?
Well, it is, yeah. That sort of, the silliness that goes on a with Sunday League, and that's part of the romance, if you like, part of the fun, and that sort of. I mean, I think you said earlier on, ultimately, it is your Premier League. You go out there, and there's 22 people on the pitch that want to win the match. And you're playing your best. You're playing the best that you can, and it matters, even though it doesn't really matter. But it matters right there and then. And you might be pushing to win the league and get a funny little plastic trophy at the end of the season, but it matters, and people do care. And and that's that. Yeah.
So, like I said, I stopped playing because of injury, really. But you've always been quite lucky with injury, have you?
I'd say overall I've been pretty lucky. I went up for a header, and the guy sort of steamed in. I was never very good at headers. I'm quite short, and I don't jump very high, and I'm just just not very good at headers. But I went up, I leaped. It was a goal kick or something. I think it was a goal kick. And so it's a big looping ball, middle of the park. It's coming my way, and I do my best jump, and from nowhere, I still don't really, often you're aware of what's going on around you. If a tackle's coming in, or if someone's going to challenge you. I just had no idea that this guy was steaming in as well, and he just steamed in and absolutely, with his head, smacked my head. Fell to the ground. I wasn't unconscious, but I was just dazed and kind of, just like, whoa, where'd he come from? And then I kind of came to, and I had my head down, face down, so people couldn't see me. And I kind of got to my knees, and I remember looking up, and just people kind of had that shocked face, and then started edging away from me, like I was kind of some kind of monster. And then sort of hearing the, ooh, that doesn't look good.
You never want to hear that.
No, you never want to hear that. So my heart sank, and then I realized it wasn't good, and basically I'd fractured my eye socket. Oof. I had a golf ball like lump instantly coming out of my head. I looked like the Elephant Man, and my good mate Jeremy Rose came to the rescue. I can't remember. I think he was on the bench, or whether he was on the pitch or on the bench. He basically said, "I'll take you to hospital now." And so, grabbed my bag, fully kitted up, straight to hospital. And so I've been very lucky. Apart from that, I think I had a few months off, and then I was back. But I've seen some horrific injuries on the pitch. I've seen a broken leg. a good old mate of mine, a guy called JK, who was the kind of cross between Vinnie Jones and Dennis Wise. You can imagine. You can imagine midfield. He's about 5'3".
I mean, he sounds charming.
Honestly, he's a proper gentleman. He's an absolute legend. He runs a key cutting and shoe repair shop in Henley. I don't know if he still does. I haven't seen him in years.
I mean, traditionally you call it cobblers, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, he does all of that. Yeah, I forgot the title. Anyway, head down to see him. But yeah, he's an absolute legend. But on the pitch, different animal. I mean, he was a real beast. He would do all of the tackles that were needed and more. And this particular day, he just went in pretty hard. The guy's foot stayed in the ground, and his shin kind of snapped.
Oh.
And you could hear it. And I kind of ran over the other side of the pitch, sort of freaked out.
So it wasn't JK who had the injury. It was
he delivered it on somebody else. No, ambulance came, drove onto the pitch. It was all very exciting. Game got called off. Poor lad. I think he's all right, but he was shocked. I remember as he was getting up, actually, he said, "Oh, I'm going to be going skiing next week." I'll be lucky to walk, mate. And what were you doing playing Sunday League football a week before going skiing? But anyway, yeah.
Well, that was a lot of the thing with the injuries in Sunday League. It was like everyone's got work on Monday.
Well, yeah, and you always
I remember playing on a Sunday.
Work on Monday.
Yeah, I got.
That's true, yeah. And you can't. You do have that in the back of your mind sometimes, and you sort of
pull out the tackle thinking, hold on a sec, I've got an early start in the morning. I better save my legs.
Yeah, exactly. Oh dear, yeah. So there's that. Yeah, and I've seen various others. It's a pretty dangerous place.
I mean, that's the kind of dark side of it. But I'll move it on to something to the kind of the bright side of it. And I'm sure you will remember instantly what the best goal you've ever scored is, because everyone knows. And also, what's the best goal you've ever seen?
God, I've ever seen. Oh, there's so many. That's a real tough one. God, I mean, just the. It's my own goals that spring to mind. The greatest football manager I've ever had, Tony Sibley, Sibbo, affectionately known as. I mean,
he was my manager as well when I played with you. I'm thinking you might be thinking of the overhead kneesy.
Well, there's overhead kneesies. He scored with his bum.
Yeah.
I think he scored with his balls. He scored them all. But there was one particular season where he won goal of the season, and I should have won it. So I'll talk you through my one first. Basically,
go.
Beginning of the match, we kick off. We pass it, back to midfield. It actually goes all the way back to the goalkeeper. Comes back out through the defence, out wide on the right. One of our players runs along with it. I haven't actually touched it by this stage, but the rest of the team have. So everyone in the team's touched the ball. Guy from the right crosses it in, and I take a touch, comes to me, take a touch, and then just low and hard drill it into the far right corner. So we've scored within, I don't know, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, something like that.
Yeah.
Everyone on our team has touched the ball. And I've scored a decent goal, edge of the, just outside the edge of the box, into the far corner. So it's a decent goal, in terms of my finish. It's not a goal of the season, but the fact that the whole team had touched the ball, and
Brazil 1970, you're thinking?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah, exactly.
Carlos Alberto on the
name.
Yeah,
what was his name? Jarzinho.
Carlos Alberto.
There you go, Alberto.
Yeah.
So have that in your mind. That it's that kind of finish. There you go. But yeah, I got beaten that season by Sibbo, who scored a volley from the halfway line, and you can't argue with that because it was just exceptional. So that one springs to mind. But and fair play, well deserved.
Nice.
There's so many good, free kicks into the top corner. Proper, basically. as good as you'd see in the Premier League goals. You know, proper high standards. Probably, you know, a degree of luck, but you know, right there and then you're watching something which is as good as you'd see in any Premier League grounds. You know, that, you know, right in the top corner, taking it past a couple of players and drilling it, whatever it is. You know, that even at that level, you see some serious quality occasionally.
Yeah. There's those one-off moments. It's the same in a lot of sports. Like, you think about it in golf, you hit that one shot,
Yeah,
and you're just like, that's as good as it gets. And you can see that in football. You have that one volley, that one shot, and one move where you're just like, yeah, at that exact second, like, you're on top of the world. You could be a professional sports person at that second.
Yeah.
The one thing you could never be, at that second you are it. And, but yeah. The other thing I was thinking about was refs. And
Yes.
we had some crazy refs over the years, and on all sorts of different levels. And I was wondering if there was any like ridiculous refereeing moments that came to mind for you.
I mean, there's ridiculous refs, ridiculous refereeing moments. I have to say, actually, in all fairness, that the standard has really improved over the years. You know, I've been playing in that league, like I said, 27 years, and
Yeah.
for the first 10 or 15 years, you know, we were lucky to have a ref, and then if there was a ref, then, you know, the quality would be iffy. But I have to say, nowadays, we will all whinge and moan and shout at them all game, but by and large, they the quality has improved, and also the availability. And, you know, fair play to these guys. I mean, they get paid a little bit, but they still, you know, they obviously love the game and love turning up and
I mean, there
getting
must be a particular type of person, because
thankless
they
task.
can't be getting paid a lot to turn up on a Sunday and get called every name under the sun by a load of guys from Slough.
Yeah, exactly. It's just pretty brutal. But interesting, like, you get different types of refs. You get the real sort of confrontational refs who almost, it's almost like having, you know, when you're shouting against another player for whatever reason, it's almost like that, you know, rather than a sort of calming influence who kind of the voice of reason. They will they'll challenge back at you, and you know, I'm thinking of one or two as I speak now. But yeah, I'd say the quality's got better. There was one time that it was a particularly, and that pitch quality at Sunday League is really varied. Again, the pitches have got better over the years, but this, I'm rolling back 15, 20 years or so. Really muddy pitch, and the center circle was basically a bog. You couldn't see any green. It was just mud and puddles. Horrible. And I had the ball sort of running through that somehow, and got completely taken out. The guy wasn't anywhere near the ball. It's just a full trip. He just completely wiped me out. I've gone head first, like I said earlier on, sometimes you can anticipate a tackle. I didn't even know where this guy, he wasn't anywhere near me. I go head first into the deepest muddy puddle right in the middle, and kind of slide for a little bit. So I got mud kind of going over the back of my head. And I kind of
Amazing.
sort of get up, get out of my mouth, trying to say a whole load of expletives, like, oh, ref, you know. I'm so angry that I've been number one, fouled, and then number two, I'm just absolutely covered in mud. And whilst I'm trying to sort of speak some words, everyone's laughing their heads off. Everyone, my team, their team. I'm really angry, looking around, you know, at just everyone laughing. The ref's laughing, and the ref actually had to stop the game for a few minutes because everyone was just laughing so much, and I was in such a
I mean, that's embarrassing.
Really embarrassing. And yeah, he did actually, to be fair, he did give the guy a yellow card, well deserved, I thought.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that was, so he had to stop the game for that. I'm just like, yeah, other refereeing decisions. I mean, you know, there's the dark side of Sunday League, where tempers fray.
There was a guy. I mean, it's not actually Sunday League. This was a five-a-side match we played in, where we were playing for the league. It was like our last game of the season, and I think we needed to win. If we won, we won the league, and we were playing one of the top teams, and it was a really close game. And then we got a penalty. It was late in the game. I think scores were level. We got a penalty, and you were taking the penalty, and as you put the ball down, the keeper came to you and said, "It wasn't a penalty, was it?" And you went, "No, I don't think so." And the ref heard you say that and said, and blew his whistle, and he said, "All right, no penalty." And when he said that, our whole five-a-side team was crowded around the box, ready for a rebound. And he just went, "Goal kick." Gave the other team a goal kick. They took the goal kick and they went down the other end unopposed and scored, which was the winner, and which meant we didn't win the league. And that's probably the most angry I've ever been on a football pitch. And I took my shirt off and threw it at the ref and walked off.
Oh dear me!
That's
up at the Elms in Wickham.
Yeah, you kind of don't really take five-a-side that seriously, but then sometimes you really do.
But like I said earlier, it matters. You walk over that line and you want to win the match, and if the lead's running, I remember that. I mean, that's stupid of me. Really stupid of me.
But the ref can't just change his mind because you said
no. Although you kind of think that's kind of fair enough, but at the time,
mental.
But we've had a few of those actually. You know, the honesty on a football pitch as well. So, you know, sometimes, we had it the other day where, decision, a clear decision went the wrong way. The ref, and we said no, it's their ball, their throw, and whatever it was. And so you do get that. You do get occasional glimpses of honesty, but most of the time, everyone's kind of out for themselves and. Not out for themselves, out for their team. They want to win. So the refs can get in the way of that.
Yeah. Now, Torbs, in the when I asked you to do this, you were kind enough to send a message to your current team and I think your past manager to ask for some of their best Sunday League stories. So I'd be interested to know what you got back from them.
Yeah, so I mean, we had a good. I haven't talked to Sibbo in a long time. He's and we had a great chat earlier on. Really good to catch up with him, and we just chuckled about a whole load of different things. There's a few that sprung to his mind that I'd forgotten about, which really made me laugh. So there's one season where it was early on in Sibbo's career, so he was still building a team, and we were in a bit of transition. So we weren't the worst, but we weren't the best. We were kind of mid-table, but we were always trying, and we had a good bunch of lads. Anyway, that season we got awarded the Fair Play Award, which I think is the first and only time I've ever heard of that award in Sunday League, and certainly the first and only time we've ever won it. Anyway, we won it, and as a there wasn't a European place in
Intertoto Cup.
The Intertoto Cup, they had a back door into the into the UEFA Cup or whatever it was back then. Anyway, so we as a result we won a brand new first aid box. A first class, real special one. Anyway, one of our main guys, veteran Dave Hill, took the responsibility of it, took it home. So I'll look after that. I'll bring it to every game. And he and then I don't know, a couple of games later, there's an injury on the pitch, and Dave Hill's like, "Oh, I've got this." Runs on the pitch. He's got the bag on him. The first aid box, or what he thinks it is. He gets out there, and then he says, "Oh, I've got this magic first aid box. Don't worry, I've got this." Opens it up, and he realizes it's his laptop bag. So the one time that we've got this special first aid box, it's going to come in real handy with his big injury, and he brings on his laptop bag that he's mistakenly put in his boot instead of. And this is in the early days. Nobody really had laptop bags. This is before everyone had a laptop. So
Brilliant.
like late 90s.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah, it's classic. So yeah, that was one he reminded me about.
You did send me
I sent you a few the other day.
couple of
What were
stories
those?
that your guys sent. I'll read a couple of
Right.
these out while we're
Yeah,
waiting
go on.
for your phone to turn back on.
Yeah.
A lot, I mean, I've got no idea who these guys are. Trev, there's
Big Trev.
random pitch invader.
Yeah.
Nomads away, Desborough Park. He's one of those Premier Inn cunts, did someone shout.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotta love a
Do
Sunday
you want me
league.
to talk you through these?
Yeah, talk me through it if you can. Yeah, if you were there.
All right. Well, so I mean, I see it's not. You almost had to be there, really. I don't know whether I'll do it justice. No, it's not really that exciting to explain, but we're just playing. You know, we're in the middle of the match. You know, we're cracking on. All the stuff's going on, and then this guy just kind of starts walking across the pitch, but like right through the middle of the pitch, quite slowly. He's carrying his shopping.
Yeah.
And clearly aware that there's a match going on, there's a ref, and stuff's going on, and he's just strolling across, not just taking the beeline, the quick route across the field, rather than walking around the pitch. He's just gone, no, I'm walking straight across the pitch. Everyone's shouting at him, "What are you doing, mate? What are you?" And he's just oblivious to it. He just carries on, just doesn't care. Astonishing, just how, just sort of, the brazenness of it, with 22 lads running around a pitch and then all shouting at him, for him to just kind of carry, just astonishing. And then we had another pitch invader, weirdly, 2 weeks earlier, where we were playing on a pitch reasonably close to a main road, and one of the lads on the pitch just hoofs it away, and it sails over the hedge, and it's it's going to go onto the road, and then you're just hoping that there's no one driving along. There is someone driving along, and it's a taxi, and the ball just squarely hits the taxi right in the front of the taxi. Big noise, and everyone on the pitch is woo. And then someone shouted them to throw the ball back. I don't think they did, actually. They drove off. So we get another ball on the pitch and carry on. Anyway, five or so minutes later, we see this guy walking onto the pitch with a number plate in his hand.
Yeah.
And he's in a suit, like he's proper, well dressed, and it's clear that he's the taxi guy, and that the ball has knocked off his number plate, and he walks on, and again it's the same sort of thing. Just where,
I mean, you got the cojones to walk on a pitch like that.
And it doesn't matter whether you're short or big, whatever. But this guy was particularly short, and it wasn't like he was a kind of 7-foot beast of a man who could hold his own. This guy was just a small older guy who was just very, very angry, holding his number plate, saying, and he was just shouting, "Who's going to pay for this? Who's going to pay for this?" And you can just imagine the stuff that was being shouted at him, and just everyone's just cracking up and making jokes, and poor guy. Obviously, he's got an issue that he's been dealt with, that he's been landed with from the ball that kicks from our pitch. But it's a complete accident, and you just kind of got to take those on the chin, haven't you? But he was particularly persistent. Anyway, the game stopped for a good, I don't know, 5 or 6, 7, 10 minutes or so. Long time. Had to get him off the pitch. Had to talk him around, and he hovered around. He waited on the side of the pitch until the end of the match, and then he carried on having a go at everyone, saying, "Who's going to pay? Who's going to pay?" And in the end, the ref just had to just sort of say, "Look, I'm really sorry, but I don't think anyone's going to pay for this." But I just didn't. All that needed to be done.
I love the fact the ref has to take control of that situation.
Yeah, no, everyone else we're all trying to be sort of reasonable, just saying, "Look, I think you can just get a bit of double-sided tape and you're good to go. A bit of Velcro." Yeah, it's really not, it's just a number plate. Anyway, so
I've got Nick.
Probably we should have chipped in £5 and dealt with it, but
yeah.
No one did that.
I've got Nick who just said, "Drunk Richard." absolute baldy legend.
Yeah,
And then someone's replied saying, "Don't forget him stripping off down to pants and boots."
yeah. So drunk Richard, really good player, really bad drunk. He so you'd have him on the team sheet, not knowing whether one, he would turn up, and whether two, he'd turn up and be able to play. And if he was anywhere near sober, then he'd be a good addition to the team. Yeah, and anyway, this particular time he was particularly wasted, and the manager didn't pick him, and so he stripped down to his pants and his boots, and it was he was like he was still up for playing, but there was no way that he would have been able to stay on his feet. He was all over the place. Actually, it would have been quite funny if he had played, and he still would have probably been better than some of the players on the pitch.
Brilliant. Rob, a new player, joined our team. Turns out he has size 6 feet.
Oh yeah,
I doubt there's a story behind that.
Well,
is that the story?
That's basically the story. Yeah, we've got a player, Ryan,
good enough,
who's our right back, who's a good lad, good player, but he's just got very small feet.
Yeah. It's always funny when someone's got small feet, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's not particularly tall, but he's a good lad, and he gives as good as he gets. So yeah, don't worry.
Fair enough. Brian says Rob's shit boots.
Yeah, so Rob's obsessed with buying the most ludicrous boots on offer, and he will, he will search the internet long and hard until he finds the most disgusting boots that a player could ever buy, and he will buy them and wear them with pride. And to be fair, he's a big lad, and when you sort of see him, you don't necessarily think he's going to be the most effective player, but he is probably our most consistently good player who has his great moments. I think he's our top goal scorer this season. He's got the biggest heart, and he's a proper legend. Rob Cross. Brilliant. He's good. Yeah, he should get a mention.
And he also said Ricky's dad falling asleep in the strip club on the presentation.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that one, but I think that probably
officially.
The party, the flags in Slough has got a particular reputation for after party as a after party venue for end of season football dues.
Yeah,
I don't think you've ever been.
I doubt it.
No,
I'm not intending to go.
No.
Ricky Bobby says, Ricky Bobby. I mean, wasn't that the racing driver of Talladega Nights?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
When I shouted up the fucking Baldy again, we should say that Baldy is as your team name, isn't it?
Yeah. So WSM Celtic, I spoke about. I played for them for 20 odd years or so. I think for the last 7 or so seasons, I played for the Burnham Garibaldi. Funnily enough, back in
Garibaldi's a pub, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a pub down the bottom of Burnham High Street. Which is a nice little pub. Doesn't do the best food, but they always make some for us after a match.
Sausage rolls.
Sausage rolls made out of some kind of meat.
Meat.
Dog meat. Yeah. Can't officially call it meat. Anyway, so we played for the Garibaldi, and we will shout, "Come on, Baldy!" And that kind of thing. And this one particular match, Ricky shouted, "Up the fucking Baldy!" And the goalkeeper from the other team started screaming, shouting, "Who the fuck you? You called him Baldy?" Ran out to confront Ricky.
Was he bald?
He was bald. He thought, but then half the players on the pitch were bald, but he took particular offence and thought that we were shouting at him. Like, no, we're the Garibaldi. We're up the fucking Baldy. That's us. and then he got it and sort of sheepishly went back to his goal, and but he was still a bit angry. I think he still didn't quite sort of believe that it was necessary. It was about that. So yeah,
classic.
yeah. It was,
Is your phone piped up yet? Have you found any more?
No, it's not charging for some reason.
Does Sibbo have any classics on there?
So actually, there's another one that I can remember. Another one I can remember. So a good mate of both of ours, actually, Ben Bradley, who played very occasionally for 1 or 2 seasons. Probably the fittest guy in all senses of the word that we know. And anyway, it was his first game, and it was tradition for WSM Celtic first game players to wash the kit. A Sunday league chore that nobody wants. I always like to get in early in the season on those sort of dry days where the kit would be sweaty but not muddy. That was my tactic.
When you're playing in
Get
August.
one in early.
Yeah,
exactly. Don't go for the kit in January or February. Anyway, it was Ben's first match, and he so he had to take the kit, and we were squashed into one of these council pitch changing rooms where you have to share the changing room with the other team, which is always a bit awkward before and after a match, and they're always far too hot, aren't they? Even in the middle of August, it would they'd have the heating pumped right up. You're just sweating before you've even sort of got your boots on. Anyway, end of the match, and Ben finds out he's got to take the kit home. He's a bit disgruntled, but he gets it. Everyone tells him that that's what he has to do. And then like 10 minutes later, Sibbo's come out into the car park and can see Ben really struggling to get the bag into his boot.
Yeah.
And he's like, he doesn't really think too much about it. It just carries on. And then later on that day, he gets a message from Ben, who says that he's managed to take home both teams' kits. He's got 30 very sweaty, smelly top, shorts and socks that he's taken home that he's going to have to wash, and then have to get the kit back to the other team somehow. So yeah, absolute disaster. And Ben, bless him, he's he just didn't really realise that day. Good player though.
Oh dear. Well, mate, is that if your phone's not turned on and you haven't got any more on the messages? We've been talking a while and it's been fantastic, but yeah, we can call it a day there. And thank you so much for doing this. It's been great fun.
Yeah, it's been good fun. Good trip down memory lane. There's so much. I'll come off of this and I'll remember a million other stories. And it fills my heart with joy.
You do? Yeah.
It.
I mean, the first podcast I did, I was just talking about myself, and like a few days after, I just kept remembering more and more things, and you could just go on forever. So yeah, you've got to put a pin in it at some point. But it's
there's so much material with Sunday League. Every match is a kind of episode in itself with all the different incidents and dramas and I don't know, different relationships and issues and everything. It is quite funny. You as much as you're playing football, you're laughing. It's always good fun.
So you're what, 48 now?
Nah, come on, don't do that to me. 43. I will still be playing when I'm.
When are you going to stop playing? When do you think you're going to stop?
I don't know. I've kind of I still feel like I can go out onto the pitch and kind of contribute, and as long as that happens, then I think I will keep going. There's one lad, another legend, who's our third choice goalkeeper, Daryl, who plays for us for the Burnham Garibaldi, and he's a year older than me, so he's still going, and he still contributes. He's a great lad, but despite being our third choice goalkeeper, he's more often in goal than he isn't, just due to the commitment issues that some Sunday League footballers have.
I'm sure when I played, we were lucky to have a first choice goalkeeper.
I know, yeah, I know. We're very blessed when it comes to goalkeepers. Less so in some of the other positions. But anyway, yeah, he's still going. So as long as he's still going, I'll still go. And maybe one day I'll drop to being. Actually, I won't be a goalkeeper. I'm useless in goal. And
You sure? You said you're
last
short
night,
and you can't jump.
yeah, exactly. I'm not going to be the best. I'll give it a go if I have to. But yeah, no, he got 2 nasty knocks to the head in the last match that we played, actually, over in Britwell in Slough, and we lost 7-0. And even when it was 6-0, he still steamed out to make a save, which he did. He took out the player, and I think he gave away a penalty, and he took one to the head, with a knee to the head at full pelt.
Yeah.
He still got up and tried to save the penalty. He didn't, but he's still got. So long as he's still going, I'll still go, and maybe I'll go a bit longer. Who knows? But yeah, I'm up for it.
Make it to 50, mate. Make it to 50.
Well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? To be fair, my brother, who got me into Sunday league football, he's still going. He is 48, so he plays less nowadays. But when I think he's playing better now than he has done for a long time. So
he hasn't got kids. He hasn't got kids though, mate. He's basically 10 years.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's yeah. But yes, look, he's still going as well. So there's a lot of role models for me to follow in the footsteps of.
Yeah. Well, mate, it's been a pleasure. Thank you again. And maybe I'll get you back on again another time to talk about something else. You never know.
Oh, very much appreciate the opportunity to talk about a much loved hobby of mine. So yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, and good luck with the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, I'll have to come watch you play on Sunday.
Yes, mate, come on down. Yeah, we need to increase our crowd numbers of 0. So yeah, you'd make a difference.
Cheers, mate.
Nice. Take care, mate.
Yeah.
All the best.
See you later.